Queen Nanny, Granny Nanny, or Nanny of the Maroons, was born 1686. She was an 18th century leader of the Jamaican Maroons. She led a community of formerly enslaved Africans called the Windward Maroons. In early 18th century, under the leadership of Nanny, the Windward Maroons fought a guerrilla war over many years against the British authorities in the colony of Jamaica, in what became known as the First Maroon War. Much of what is known about her comes from oral history, as little textual evidence exists. According to the Maroon legend, Queen Nanny was born in what is today Ghana, of the Ashanti people. According to the oral tradition, and at least one documentary source, she was never enslaved, although widely assumed that she arrived in Jamaica as a slave. How she arrived in Jamaica is not certain. During the years of warfare, the British suffered significant losses in their encounters with the Windward Maroons of eastern Jamaica. Maroons attributed their success against the British to the successful use of supernatural powers by Nanny. But historians argue that the Maroon mastery of guerrilla warfare played a significant role in their success. Having failed to defeat them on the battlefield, the British sued for peace, signing a treaty with them on 20 April 1740. And that's the 20th of April, 1740. The treaty stopped the hostilities, provided for state-sanctioned freedom for the Maroons, and granted 500 acres of land to Nanny and her followers. The village built on the land grant still stands and today is called Moortown. It is also known as the New Nanny Town. Modern members of the Moortown celebrate April 20th, 1740 as a holiday. In 1975, the government of Jamaica declared Nanny as their only female national hero, celebrating her success as a leader, military tactician, and strategist. Her image is also on the Jamaican $500 note, which is called a nanny in Jamaican slang. According to Maroon legend, Nanny was born into the Akan people about 1686 in what is now Ghana, West Africa. There are several versions of her early story. It is not clear from objective sources which are accurate. In one story, she came as a free woman who may have even had her own slaves. In another, she came to Jamaica as a slave but then escaped, perhaps even jumping off of the ship while it was ashore. However, the oral traditions about her arrival in Jamaica maintain that she was always free. Another version of her life tells that she was of royal African blood and came to Jamaica as a free woman. She may have been married to a Maroon man named Ado, but had no known children who survived. In 1655, following the invasion of Jamaica, the English captured Jamaica from the Spaniards, but many Spanish slaves became free under Spanish Maroon leaders such as Juan de Bolas and Juan de Ceras. The Spanish left, freeing their slaves in the process, and they joined the Windward Maroon communities. These formerly enslaved people, with their ranks enhanced, the escaped and liberated slaves, became the core of the Windward Maroons. They staged and prolonged fight against English subjugation and enslavement. Later in the 17th century, more slaves escaped, joining the two main bands of Windward and Leeward Maroons. By the early 18th century, these Maroon towns were headed respectively by Nanny, who shared the leadership of the Eastern Maroons with Quo and Captain Cudjoe, and Akongpong in the west. The Windward Maroons fought the British on the east side of the island from their villages in the Blue Mountains of Portland. The community raised animals, hunted, and grew crops. Maroons at Nanny Town and the similar communities survived by sending traders to the nearby market towns to exchange food for weapons and cloth. It was organized very much like a typical Ashanti society in Africa. From 1655 until they signed peace treaties in 1739 and 1740, these Maroons led most of the slave rebellions in Jamaica, helping to free slaves from the plantations. They raided and then damaged lands and buildings held by plantation owners. The Maroons were also known for raiding plantations for weapons and food, burning the plantations, and leading freed slaves to join their mountain communities. Nanny was highly successful at organizing plans to free slaves. During a period of 30 years, she was credited with freeing more than 1,000 slaves and helping them to resettle in the Maroon community. In 1720, Nanny and Quo, sometimes called her brother, settled and controlled an area in Blue Mountains. It was later given the name Nanny Town, and it had a strategic location overlooking Stony River via a 900-foot ridge, making a surprise attack by the British very difficult. Nanny became a folk hero among the Maroons and the slaves. While the British captured Nanny Town on more than one occasion, they were unable to hold on to it. In the wake of numerous guerrilla attacks from the Maroons waged a successful war against the British colonial forces over the course of a decade. When Nanny Town was abandoned, the Windward Maroons, under the command of Nanny, moved to New Nanny Town between 1728 and 1734. During the First Maroon War, Nanny Town and other Maroon settlements were frequently attacked by British forces. They wanted to stop the raids and believed that the Maroons prevented settlement of the interior. According to some accounts, in 1733, many Maroons of Nanny Town traveled across the island to unite with the Leeward Maroons. In 1734, a Captain Stoddart attacked the remnants of Nanny Town, situated on one of the highest mountains in the island. Via the only path available, he found it steep, rocky and difficult, and not wide enough to admit the passage of two persons abreast. In addition to the use of the ravine, resembling what Jamaicans call a cockpit, the Maroons also used decoys to trick the British into ambushes. A few Maroons would run out into view of the British and then run in the direction of fellow Maroons who were hidden and would attack. After falling into these ambushes several times, the British retaliated. According to the planter Brian Edwards, who wrote his narrative half a century later, Captain Stoddart found the huts in which the Negroes were asleep and fired upon them so briskly that many were slain in their habitations. However, recent evidence shows that the number of the Windward Maroons killed by Stoddart in his attack on Nanny Town was in single digits. So, Nanny never play with people. You see, folk story, history, them always say Nanny get shot in her bottom. That are the only thing them talk about the Queen. Them not really talk about these things when Nanny do. And that me realize. But always about the shot in her bottom, because Jamaicans have it say Nanny was a curvaceous woman with a big ass. But nonetheless, maybe that story is not true. Are just gimmicks. Are just comic, right? But at the end of the day, we have to bless her up because she hold the fight. She never play with people. You have many different stories about Nanny. Them say Nanny come from Haiti one at a time. But obviously, she wasn't from Haiti. She left from Ghana upon a ship, come to Jamaica, just like many Jamaican ancestors who left from Africa on slave ships to Jamaica and fight for what we believe in. Nowadays, black people now really fight for what them believe in. We get comfortable. We want to assimilate. We want to be integrated into white society. Nanny, I know you're dead and gone, you know. But big up yourself, Mama, Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, Marcus Garvey, George William Garden. Although he was white, him fight for the black people them. Cause some part of history say George William Garden grandmother was a black woman. So his mother was mixed. She was mulatto, white and black. Black mother, white father. Anyway, this is not about George William Garden. This is about Queen Nanny. Nanny of the Maroons.